All right. What's up, party people? We're back. My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Today I'm kicking off. I've got two awesome interviews. My first guest, his name is Brent. He's the co-founder and CEO of Haptech Holdings. We've got pretty interesting title, if I may say so myself. Feel the bass, calm the brain. Brent spent 2 decades as a consumer goods and operations executive before he became a hardware founder. Haptech Holdings, which Brent co-founded in March 2022 with clinical psychologist Dr. Stephen Danziger, began as an entertainment idea, immersive audio you experience in the body, not only in the ear. So I'm delighted to have Brent here. How are you, Brent?
Good, Sonny. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I guess in your own words, what are you guys building at Haptech Holdings? I was telling you, right? Like I spent I don't know, 9 years in robotics and haptics was kind of one of my favorite topics at that time. And I think a lot about it. So what yeah, just maybe let's take us into the deep end. What are you building?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, the product was originally invented for entertainment purposes, as we were talking earlier. It was basically a former professional drummer was feeling the reverberation off of the studio floor, and he's like, oh, I want to feel like this all the time, like I'm at a live concert, when I'm walking down the streets of Manhattan. So as it began as like an immersive experience to enhance music, which then went to marketing toward gamers. Gamers love it because it adds that third sensory of you're not just seeing and hearing, now you're feeling. So we took that and we actually took the idea from the entertainment world, and my partner and I, Steven, he had the idea that he could use it in trauma focused care and therapy. So we started looking at EMDR therapy, and then that morphed into really just any trauma focused care. And then also there's a lot of other applications that we now are looking into, one being Parkinson's disease. So there's a lot of different applications that we can use our products for. And we took one product that was originally done as a sneaker, and we started with footwear because you have more nerve endings in the bottom of your feet. So what we do is we harness the audio and we break that down into vibration, so you're feeling exactly what you're hearing. And the fact that it's coming up through your feet, it has an effect on your overall body. And really, we're looking at, we took it from entertainment, and then now we're applying it to the wellness side is the gist of it. To look at, diminishing symptoms from Parkinson's disease, opening up the gait, improving the balance, motor skills. We've seen tremendous results from that. And then again, the therapy side, we're using it in the MDR therapy. There'll be bilateral stimulation. It's really interesting. We're also starting to look at Alzheimer's. We already know what the music can do in terms of sensory and cognitive ability. So you pair the music and you amplify that with what we like to call is tactile hearing, is the feeling of what you're hearing, and it just amplifies everything. So the running theory is that we want to start also looking at studies in Alzheimer's and dementia folks as well. So there's a lot of different avenues we can take the product that's really interesting. It was never really invented for, but we found an incredible use case for.
Whoa. I've heard you a few times, but I don't know. I think it finally just like hit me, just like the magnitude of what you guys are building. Like you spent 20 plus years in consumer goods, like finance and operations, before
Mhm.
you ever built hardware. So can you take me back? Like what was young Brent into, and what was building things always like? What was building stuff like in the picture back then, or what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
I mean, honestly, I always loved to kind of tinker and figure out, even when I was younger, I would love to take things apart just to figure out how they worked, put them back together kind of deal. Um, at times it would definitely annoy my parents, but, but, I was always kind of like into, tinkering with things. But, my career really started in finance. I worked in corporate finance. I started off in the apparel world, in apparel and fashion. And I got out of finance and more into operations. I ran e-commerce divisions for a little while, and then I got out of corporate America and I went into startup world for many years, and where I was just kind of helping build teams and helping build the infrastructure for newly launched startups, mainly online businesses. And then I left that, went back to corporate America, or actually corporate world, I should say. I worked for a Japanese company, and that's where I got my first taste of wearable tech. So I went from, apparel and fashion into wearable tech, and then I got deeper into tech, and then, flash forward to today, we started Haptech, and we bought all the IP from the original inventors, and we took the original idea, again, back to the entertainment side, and are building a whole new business out of it. And we're still targeting entertainment, but we're also majorly targeting the wellness sector. So it was kind of a gradual move for me.
That's super interesting. So Drop Labs, what was that about? The whole idea was what, feeling sound. Yeah, like is that connected to Haptech, or is that something you're working on before?
No, that was the company that originally invented the technology. So
Got it.
what we did is
acquired.
we actually ended up acquiring them. And because
Interesting.
we also, again, we saw the huge opportunity in health and wellness. So we're like, okay, the entertainment side is a business to itself. Gamers love it because the technology, when you add that third sensory, and you're adding that sense of feeling, it actually increases reaction time. So we have a study that we did with UCLA that proves this out. That because you're adding that extra sensory, you're more heightened, so your reaction time improves. So gamers love it because it gives them a little bit of an edge, and it gets them a little bit more immersive in a more enhanced environment. So the entertainment side, again, is a business in itself. And then we also, again, saw the huge upside in the health and wellness side and in mental therapy. Again, Parkinson's was not something on the radar when we purchased the IP, but we got our footwear on a few Parkinson's patients, and it was just instantaneously, you could see the difference of, agility and mobility and balance. We're doing bigger studies. We've only done a few observations, like onesie, twosie patients here and there. So we're doing much larger studies to further understand exactly what's happening. We do know that adding vibration with music therapy, it does have an effect on, serotonin levels and just kind of, different aspects of the way your brain kind of fires. So we're studying that to prove out the, proof of concept, but also understand exactly what's happening and why.
Is it Reiki, or I don't even know what it's called, but you see when you get foot massages done or whatever, like they have all those pictures with all the set. Like, is there any science to that stuff? Are you guys looking at? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people have been studying the feet for some time, right? But it's just remarkable that you're like marrying it with this like haptics technology. And like, I guess what's the why behind this is, or I get you said you guys don't know fully, but like any kind of thesis around it?
I mean, we do know that, like I said, you have more nerve endings in the bottom of your feet than anywhere else. So when you have it coming up from the ground up, you really do kind of feel it throughout your body. You feel it coming up. And like I said, there is studies we've done studies on with rehab centers, addiction centers, and we did it on not only patients, but we did it on staff. And it was quantitative and also qualitative, because you get everyone's opinions of how they think they feel, but also like we did take like pulse rates and heart rates, and we did some actual measurements, and we did prove out that it has a fairly high reduction to reduce stress and anxiety and even fatigue when it comes to especially staff members. So there's a lot of interesting facts there, and it does do certain things to the body. Like I said, there's the serotonin levels and it can change with the music therapy coupled with vibration. And like I said, the vibration just amplifies the entire experience.
So you kind of touched on this idea of it was like an entertainment idea, and now it's more like a health idea. Can you walk me through the moment like the entertainment idea kind of quietly became this health idea?
Yeah, I mean, well, we had the original first generation, which were in sneakers format, and that was marketed largely toward gamers and music lovers, etc. The health and wellness side really came from my partner Steve. He is, he specializes in EMDR therapy, which is basically, what that is. They basically use bilateral stimulation to help reprocessing of, whatever trauma you're going through. So when he tested the shoes, he had the idea of like, oh, wow, I could use this in my trainings for, he trains other EMDR therapists to become the EMDR therapists as well. So he has,
Oh, wow.
another business in itself that he does that. So he's like, I can use this in my practice. I can use this in EMDR and leverage the bilateral stimulation and the feeling, coupled with, the sound meditation or, audio or, music or, whatever they're listening to. And also use the bilateral and the feet for the reprocessing part. So that's where the whole wellness side kind of stemmed from. And then we kind of started rolling this out and exploring more and realized all these other applications that we could possibly use. Hence, again, the Parkinson's, that was kind of almost like we fell into it, and realized how much of an immediate impact it had. And, it's just tremendous to see, folks kind of transform within minutes. I was with one observation. I flew out to Aspen to meet with some folks. And the gentleman, one of the gentlemen had Parkinson's, and he was with his wife of like 40 years, and his physical trainer who trains him for many years, about 3-4 times a week. And I mentioned that because when he put on the shoes and started walking around and one foot in front of the other, like almost immediate transformation. And his wife and his therapist and trainer were both like, "Oh my God, you could never do that a week ago or even 5 minutes ago." And he's suddenly like standing on one foot and extending his leg out. And I mean, it was just crazy, the transformation. So that was just one out of a few that we've done. So that's why we want to dive deeper in, and we're doing much larger studies coming up in the next couple of months, to prove that out and understand everything better, kind of to your point of like, what is happening? What is, there's definitely theories out there, but we need to look into it a bit more. But it's very exciting.
Essentially, your feet are like a kind of like this untapped doorway into your nervous system.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's because it's coming up through your nerves, and it kind of rewires the way your nervous system works. Hence the decrease in stress and anxiety, and that's why we also partner with a lot of addiction centers.
I'm stepping on this thing right now. There's definitely something going on with your feet for sure.
Yeah. Well, it comes from the ground up. It really, like the other interesting thing is that it actually increases proprioception, like spatial body awareness. So like, because when you have it coming up from the ground up and through your feet, it kind of grounds you a bit, and kind of, lets you know where you're at. For example, people that play VR and people that get motion sickness often get motion sickness just playing VR, because your brain will play tricks on you. So with this, where if you're playing something on VR, a game or whatever, and you have the shoes on or the insoles, and you're feeling what you're experiencing, it kind of minimizes that motion sickness feeling, and it kind of, like I said, it kind of grounds you because of the increased proprioception. That was part of the UCLA study that we did as well, when we looked at the reaction time.
I mean, the applications are probably endless, right?
Yeah, I think there's stuff that we haven't even thought about yet. Like, there's
the obvious one, which is everybody's shoes, like Nike or something. Like,
yeah.
You be interested in this, right? Like, how many people
I would love
listen
for
to
them to be,
music
yeah.
while they walk? Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So it feels like, I mean, wow, what a, yeah. So you've said something most founders would argue with, right? That being, first to market isn't always the goal. And kind of like the drafting off of others can help everyone, right? So what experience taught you that? And yeah, can you double click on that idea?
Yeah, I just think that, like when I get asked a lot when we're, I'm pitching to investors, like, who are our competitors, or, what am I concerned about? And sometimes I don't look at competition as a bad thing all the time. First to market in a very white space, which, years ago, this was a very white space. Haptics are being used in a lot more products these days than they were even 5 years ago. So it took a lot of explaining to do what, like, what is this product? What does it do? How does it work? And, it took a lot of explaining to folks, initially in the first gen product, because it was so new and it was such a white space. There's other products out there, especially in gaming now, where, people are using haptics. Now it's not as similar as our technology, where ours is audio based. So you don't have to do any extra programming to get it along with a game. You can play like Halo or Call of Duty with our stuff, no problem. A lot of these other products, you have to program it in. But there's folks that have products out there where it's like you're kind of tag teaming on explaining what it is and the benefit of it. rather than it all being kind of you breaking down through that barrier first, and you're the only one. So I do look at competition as almost like helpful sometimes, in terms of getting the idea of haptics out there, and especially now in the wellness market. I think we're really onto something, and I think we are on the fort. We are kind of leading that. There's not a lot of people using our technology in the health and wellness space right now. So we're excited to kind of get moving on it. We're shipping our product out. Actually, we're shipping our first product out tomorrow. So it'll be very exciting to get our product out there and into the ether, and see what else we can apply it to.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys. Hardware is, I mean, if I learned anything in my almost decade, and is that it's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Like you've also talked about kind of this new level of like empathy for hardware founders. Like I guess like what broke or nearly broke you on the road to a shippable product?
You know what? It's just, well, first of all, I've learned that, investment wise, it's tougher when you have hardware, because, the view is that you have to carry inventory, and you're pumping money into inventory that's going to sit there. The beauty with us is we're basically made to order at this point. So we're not really carrying inventory, on our first product anyway. And then we've got commitments. I'm going to go back to the entertainment side a little bit. I talked about gaming a lot, and music and whatnot, and how it was founded. And yes, we're going to be marketing to gamers, of course, but we've got a huge opportunity with getting our product, one of our 4 core products, into on and off Broadway theaters. So we put it into like a floor mat format, and basically put it on the floor so the audience can kind of feel what's going on stage. Now this also helps because we've also worked with the deaf dance community before, and they used the first generation shoes to actually choreograph some of their routines. Which is great because they can literally feel the music. And we have like videos of some of the team members like being like, oh my God, I can hear music for the first time. And that's why I go with the term like tactile hearing. But back to the theater piece, it also opens up a whole new market for, hard of hearing and deaf folks to go and enjoy, live theater on a whole new level. So that's another very exciting thing for us, and we've got commitments with 3 different locations already that want to do pilot programs with us. So back to the hardware and carrying inventory, we're not really carrying inventory, so that's kind of a big selling point for us. As of now, we're going to have to at some point, but only after we're much more established and have some decent revenue streams coming in. So.
And was there like a moment where like kind of the mission, that's not about just like selling a product, but about affecting lives, that kind of stopped being like just a line and became more real for you?
Oh yeah. I think when I saw the transformation of the gentleman that I was mentioning before, that just instantaneously, and it's like, I said this before, like, I think when you can help people, it's just kind of an awesome thing to do. And it's not just a line for us. It's like, we're actually very excited to see how we can take the product and apply it to like improve day-to-day lives for various folks. Like my mother personally is early onset Alzheimer's. So like, that's one thing, like I would love to prove out our product that it helps cognitive ability. So that's something that's very, that's definitely a passion project piece, but it's also very legitimate, scalable business opportunity, pending further studies. The Parkinson's, we already have seen the tremendous impact and results. We're already using it in EMDR therapy and in mental trauma. Like I said, we partner a lot with addiction rehab centers, because we've got some, actually a couple of our investors own a few different locations of addiction centers or addiction treatment centers, and they use our technology in therapy, because again, if you can decrease the stress and anxiety, it'll also help with the addiction piece. So it's very fun, and very, after years of making product and just selling product, it's very nice to actually be making an impact.
So for someone hearing about haptech for the first time, like can you go like, what is it, like what does it actually do for a person who puts it on? And I'm picturing like wires connecting my feet to the wall. Do you got batteries and wireless, or like how?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
where are we
all
right now?
wireless. So we have 4 core products, and basically what all products do is again, we take any sort of audio, any sort of sound, and it's all Bluetooth. And we in the insoles and the sandals is all Bluetooth. So there's no wires; it's all batteries. You go into our app, you turn them on. You play music from Spotify, or you play whatever from Calm, or one of the apps that people use to fall asleep and relax. Um, you play that, and basically that sound transmits into vibration. What our insoles and what all of our products do is we harness that audio, and it literally uh, very very distinctly transforms into vibration. So you can feel the bass versus like a piano versus the vocals, and you'll feel the difference. You can almost tell if you're listening to a song. You can almost tell what song you're listening to without the audio, if you know the song well enough. So that's what the product actually does. We have 4 core products. There's pedestals, which are made really for in therapy use, for clinicians to use in therapy. We've got the insoles and also sandals like soccer slides, for take home product. So for every patient that is getting therapy and or is at a treatment center, they have a take home product that they can use to almost self-regulate, if you will, rather than having to always be with their therapist for that treatment. Our 4th product is floor mats, which was mainly thought up for literally the entertainment piece of the Broadway and off-Broadway plays, or live entertainment, I should say. But then we've also had requests to put them in sensory rooms. So a lot of schools, universities, I think airports are even putting these in now. They're like sensory rooms, so people can go in and kind of like de-stress, and like it's they're quiet rooms where you go in and kind of like lessen your anxiety. So we've gotten requests to put our flooring into some of those rooms, because of the stress and anxiety function that we've seen.
What about like these mats that people stand on or something all day?
Yeah, that's kind of what our floor mats are, but it just syncs to music.
Oh,
It
you
doesn't
have
just
floor mats.
vibrate.
Okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah. So it doesn't just
remarkable.
vibrate. It's not just haptics. It's actually audio-based haptics. So it's very precise. You know what I mean? So you're, like I said, you can feel the difference of bass versus vocal versus that the highs and the lows.
So you guys are, I think, from weeks from shipping your first product, right? With like 16 patents behind you. So
Yep.
what is that first product, and who is it for specifically?
The first product is the pedestals, which those are wired. Those are meant to kind of be stationary, where you sit down, on your therapist's couch or in a chair, and you put your feet on the pedestals, and your therapist will, kind of guide you through the process and guide you through the experience. We pre-sold several dozen of those a while back. We're finally getting them out the door, and they're shipping, which is very exciting. And we're continuing to build more and continuing to get more orders. So those are going all to clinicians and therapists and a couple of treatment centers, addiction treatment centers. Now, again, the beauty of that is that the next product will be the insoles. That's the follow-on, and that's what every patient would basically get as a take-home. So for every pedestal that we ship out, hopefully we're shipping out 25 to 50 insoles with them as well.
I love it.
And again, that's for kind of like take-home product for self-regulation, so that they can leverage the technology in that form of therapy, if you will, at home in between sessions.
Super cool. So I don't know if it's public knowledge or not, but I guess you guys are looking to open up a Series A, right? Is that something you're able to talk
Yes.
about a little bit? And like, what's like an ideal investor as you kind of embark on this journey? Like,
Yeah, we've started.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say there's so many puns in there about journey and feet, I'm sure, but yeah, we'll keep it for another one.
Yeah. No, we are we just kind of started going out for our Series A. So we're the investment that we're looking for. We've raised nearly $3 million so far. That got us from the first gen and getting the IP to getting the second generation and expanding the one product into 4. So that was money well spent, and we've done very well with that. So that was our pre-seed, seed, and then we had a little bit of bridge money come in. So now we're going out for up to 10 million is what we'd like to see in a Series A. Now I'm open if it's like an A1 and an A2, where we can get a portion of that this side of the year, and then the second tranche early next year. So that's kind of the game plan. And most of that will go toward, really scaling production. And then, a little bit toward R&D. Our sales and marketing costs are very minimal, especially in the health and wellness side, because we've got so many relationships with so many therapists, and with Steve, what he does, we've got connections with a lot of different treatment centers. We've got connections with, quite a few therapists, and we've got lists and lists of folks. So that's where we are able to get the pre-sales, which we're now shipping out and continuing to get in. And then, again, the insoles are follow-on products. So there's not a lot of marketing for the therapy side of the business for the insoles. And then all of the Parkinson's studies that we do will have built-in customer base. We have 5 different institutions that will do studies with us. So those 5 institutions will also kind of convert into customers, from their base as well. So our marketing cost is fairly minimal. So like I said, the funds that we're raising is really mainly to scale production. Our problem is really the supply right now. The demand is there. Like I said, we've got a lot of resources, a lot of relationships, and also, we've got, again, back to like the Broadway side, we've got 3 different locations just waiting for us to get the floor mats finalized and do a pilot program. So we've got the demand and the sales are there, and a lot of it's a rolling cycle too when it comes back to the therapy side. Especially the treatment centers, they get new patients coming in and out every other day. So that kind of turns into almost like an annuity for us of repeat business for the insoles.
So you've been talking about, so you get Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, right? So what gives you confidence that vibration and sound can move the needle on conditions like that? Like in terms of, I know you've got the patents, I know you've shared some anecdotal stories of like, what happened in front of you, but like where's all the science kind of heading with all this?
Well, that's where we're going to do several studies especially with Parkinson's coming up is going to be the first, and then we'll move on to Alzheimer's. But yeah, I mean, just given what we've seen, and the results of the very few that we've tested it on, we've seen the same results every time, and they've been not just minimal results, but quite significant. So that gave us hope that like, okay, we need to do bigger studies, further studies. So we're opening this up to, like I said, we've got 5 different institutions that specialize in Parkinson's specifically that are ready to do broader studies with us. And we'll document everything that, what's going on physically.
And this like significant positive lift, like, is it just while they're standing on the like equipment, or is it also, does it linger? Like, is it even after, like, does it actually help them? Like, is there a prolonged period?
So far, it's just when they're on, like if it was insoles, it would be like when the insoles were in their shoes and on and working. There's one study that suggests that it could be elongated to where, it almost trains your brain so that when you're not using the technology, you still get the same effect. We have not proven that out. This was not something that we did. This was a study that was done that we read about. So we're looking further into that as well, and seeing if there's more of a long-term effect, like a halo effect, if you will, of you turn it off and you're still getting the effect of when they were on.
So interesting, man. But there's like a whole generation of these like audio, like haptic wearables now, right? I think Subpack, there's this Wooger or something like that.
Yeah, Subpack I know very well. Yeah.
Where does haptic sit, and like what do you do that I guess nobody else does?
Well, we own the footwear space, first of all. I mean, that patent's pretty solid. Like we own the audio based feedback for haptics in footwear. So that's pretty much our zone. I know like some of the other ones you mentioned, they have like Wooger just came out with a mat that you lie on. And I'm not sure, I haven't checked it out yet, but they're I know that some of our competitors are not as precise in the audio breakdown in terms of getting it to the vibration. Ours is like super precise, and there's virtually no latency. So like again, the insoles, it's all Bluetooth, all wireless, and there's virtually no latency there. So there's the footwear space is probably the biggest thing I can say that's kind of like what we own. and also the fact that it's audio based rather than having to program into other consoles or other things that you're leveraging to use.
You're essentially making the case for drug-free wearable sensory intervention in, mental and neurological health, right? So if you're right, like what does healthcare look like, I don't know, 5, 10 years out?
That's the interesting part, and that's what I love so much is like this is such a non-invasive way, and it's not we're not saying we're curing anything, or we're not a medical device. We're literally we created a product that helps, like in Parkinson's, for example, it helps reduce and or minimize some of the effects of Parkinson's disease or some of the symptoms that you get. In mental health and wellness, like I said, it definitely decreases the stress and anxiety, which helps with underlying issues. So it is a very non-invasive way. I'm not saying we're replacing anything necessarily, but it gives it's a tool that folks can use or therapists can use to enhance their treatment of their patients, or it's a tool that patients can use and or people just generally can use to potentially again self-regulate and or just improve day-to-day quality of life in certain areas. So years from now, I hope that this is becoming more mainstream, and we continue to find more applications and even better ways to possibly leverage it. But right now that's we're starting from one place, and we're trying to stay focused on our launch. Stay focused on the therapy side and deliver what we've got orders for, and then expand into the Parkinson's side, and then like I said, down the road look into Alzheimer's and possibly some other areas. Neuropathy has been thrown out around there, diabetes for blood flow, things like that. So things I can't speak to too much because we haven't done the studies, but those are kind of the working theories of applications that we could possibly go down the road with.
So interesting. So I guess just like help me land the plane, zoom out for me. If you guys are, let's say, I don't know, 10 years out, if you guys are successful, how do people relate with their like bodies and minds? I mean, this is it's so interesting, and it's such an out of the box type of idea, but it could also like kind of transform how people think about health and wellness, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of articles coming out now about vibration and music therapy and just leveraging that and again, it kind of like rewires your nervous system to a certain degree. And there was an article in Forbes like a year and a half ago that came out, and the title of it was "Haptics is no longer just for gamers." Because people are, haptics was literally like that's kind of how it was marketed. A lot of it was, to gamers and enhancing, entertainment experiences. But now there's a lot of research coming out that shows, how it can improve your health and your mindset. And, coupled again with the music therapy, it just kind of amplifies everything. The haptics, the vibration just amplifies everything and adds to the experience. So I think that, I would hope in 10 years that, this is more the norm. And, we're learning a lot more about what our bodies are capable of and what they're not, every day, and what certain things do to affect it. And vibration is one of those things that is kind of coming to light. So.
I love it. Cool. Brent, where do people learn more? Can I buy one of these in Canada yet? Or is it still... Are you taking orders or?
Once we get our insoles up and running, which will be in the next several weeks, we'll go live with our website, and we would ship to Canada. So
amazing.
We have some pedestals going overseas to Europe, I believe, now, we will next week.
Well, congratulations. And it's super interesting, man. Thank you so much. Where do people learn more? Maybe your website, and also are you on LinkedIn or Twitter? Where do you post?
Yep,
stuff like that?
I'm on LinkedIn. The company's on LinkedIn. Our website's haptechholdings.com. So there's a lot more information there. Like I said, we will go live with an e-com site, direct-to-consumer site soon. We'll be shipping pretty much all around the world.
Awesome. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you all. I see a lot of people listening as well. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to bring this to an end. Brent, just hang out for maybe a minute. All right. Until next time.